Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have had a very interesting week so far, and if you guys haven't seen why I wasn't online yesterday, please go ahead and check out my Facebook and my Instagram. No, I think I did post something on Facebook. I think on YouTube. I think I posted a couple of shorts about me being in the dojo, so that's why I did not post yesterday. But I've been meaning to have this conversation because I think this week I think it was on Sunday, I talked about some of the comments in the comment section. Of course, I do my once a week Hannah in the comment section, like report back to my critics and detractors and my fans about some of the conversations and some of the things I've said. And a video was posted in one of the comments, and I reviewed that video. And I came across some other videos along those lines of people or women who think the same way. Because when I responded to this video by saying, as it pertains specifically to the utility of men, right? So the young lady in the video, I'll probably maybe link it in this one, but I don't want to promote her message because I disagree with a lot of the things that she was saying. And I did not say this in the video the comment section video that I made, but I just want to say that a lot of the times, y'all missed that? Did y'all get that? A lot of the times, women, I notice, really relish in this narrative that men are losing and that society as we know it is very quickly crumbling as very quickly crumbling and crumbling very quickly, and men are starting to wake up and realize that they need relationships. Oh my gosh, my battery's about to die, and that is why we are going through this change in situation. There we go. So I really didn't appreciate her relishing but I also didn't. One of the things that I want to talk about that I forgot to mention in the video was the second. No, I'm not as ready as I thought I was. My bad. As you can see, everything in the background is like completely white. I look like I'm in prison. But as you guys already know, I am in the process of moving. So we just trying to set up a little corner that doesn't have all of the situation going on in the background. Anyway, so back to the video, right? So I was listening to this woman talk about pouring into your relationships as a man and making sure that you are doing the part of being present as a father or as a grandfather or uncle, whatever. And men are not doing that. Now they're reaping the residual effects of not investing in their relationships. As to say that those things are more important as male utility. And I said in that video, and I think I'll link it in this video, that we as women need to stop lying like we value men the same way we value women. We value in our men utility, looks, and absolute perfection. Like I didn't say perfection in that video, but when I listen to this video, which I will be reacting to today, I am more I'm more convicted in this guess that I have, because I don't only notice it in anecdotal situations and conversations that I have with women, but this video practically went viral after this young lady said these things and then had to retract her statement a year later. We're not going to play that video in this segment. I will be talking about that in another video, maybe tomorrow or something. It is super, super interesting to see exactly what her response is, because it confirms what really matters to women, to modern women, when it comes to finding a partner. So I'm going to play this video and let you have a look, because I know people think like people want to say that Nihanda said, but it's not Nihanda said. Nihanda is just the messenger. So let's take a look, shall we? Here we have this lovely conversation, and just want you to
have
hear.
our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? You. Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it.
That's a problem. That's a problem. Because the standards.
All right. Look at her face. Like, look at her face. This woman is 40 years old, successful, career-driven, and mind you, extremely beautiful. I'm sure she says that she's desperate for a relationship and that the relationships are few and far between for her. And no matter how open-minded she is, she's very like pressed to solve this issue. But presenting her with somebody, she said it herself. All right, the man has an honest job. And she's like, that's not good enough. And I know I could hear the women, all 28 of you in the comment section saying, no, Nanda, that's not good enough. I need a man with a 6-figure income. Let's move on. Because, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like I said, I married a mechanic, so.
And requisites. And I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus driver. But we think that it's another human being's responsibility to give us what we need instead of us building together.
And this is an issue that I totally agree with. And I think that it is something that even I am guilty of when it comes to what my expectations are in my relationship with my husband. Like, he does a lot. And sometimes I have to check myself and remind myself that this man is not my father. He's not my lawyer. He's not my accountant. There's certain things that he will gift me with the ability of doing, but they're not his responsibilities. And I should be thankful that he wants to help, but I need to be able to understand the difference between what his role is as my husband and what my role is as a person needing to learn how to get their own life in order. And we as women really mistake a man's utility for his ability to be a husband. We cross those lines, and a lot of it, I want to play another part of this video earlier. A lot of it comes from fatherlessness. Like, this young lady spoke in the earlier part of the segment about not having a father, so she's already coming in as a disadvantage. She's coming in as a disadvantage for not even knowing, having had a clue as to what it is a husband's role is or isn't. And it's something that we need to actually start to acknowledge and start to talk more openly about, because that's the part of the accountability process. I could
build with a bus driver. I'd have my little stash over on the side in my prenup, but I could build with a bus driver. So I think some of the criteria that we look for in the reality of today keeps us unhappy, keeps us angry.
Look at her face. Y'all, wait, I need to go back and show. Look at that face. Look at it. Oh my. She got her mouth like a W. She's like, No, Miss Yana, I can't do that. No. And you heard what Yana said. Yana said, this is what is making us angry and bitter. And I can feel it when I hear and see some of the comments in the comment section when I talk about we getting our stuff together. I can feel it in the words and the language and the conviction. And for what? I don't know you, like, I'm already married, and I'm happily married and have been for a long time. I have no dog in this fight, outside of the fact that before I was happily married, I had no idea what I was missing until I understood what I was missing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to wake up every morning to that one special someone who loves you and will go to the end of the earth for you. I'm like, darn, man, like I want that for as many of us as possible. But in order for us to get there, we have got to let go a lot of these programmings to even come close to being eligible. Let's move on.
Keeps us unhappy, keeps us angry, keeps us imbalanced. And then when the men show up, we want to beat them up because they're not living up to our standards and criteria. And it's not working, beloved. It's just not working. So it's not that it's bad or wrong, it's obsolete. It's obsolete. We have to come up with a new way of being. I don't believe in carrying a man. A man has to do for himself. My son got his first job when he was 9. Okay? Because you're a black man, you will know how to take care of yourself. But I think the way we measure it, it's just obsolete.
So we're going to come here to this part of the conversation.
Knowing and blooming is internal. And we as women have the power to create and attract anything we desire. But we don't get still. We won't shut up. And we manage everything through fear, control, and survival. As opposed to feeling, knowing, and blooming or flourishing. Complete different thing. But since we've never been trained, we haven't been trained, we haven't been taught. So we do it the way we were taught to do it, which is very masculine in nature.
So that's the part that I wanted to share with you. The second part that I wanted to share with you. Before that, the young lady in the video, what is her name? Ebony K. Williams. She was talking about fatherlessness, and that is part of the reason that she's going through the issues that she's going through, I believe. And there's enough statistics out there, because this is a pandemic that has been widespread throughout the Black community for generations now, that this is one of the major contributors of alienation between Black men and women. We don't know how to be with our men anymore because our men have not been present. And I will be discussing why our men are not present anymore. And a lot of it has to do with some of the things that have taken place in our society that are systematic, but they're also symptomatic. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation. And for me personally, I'm very far removed from this because I live in Germany. But the longer I live here, the more I'm starting to see the scary reality that it's not a racial issue. It is a people issue, and it is a symptom of the way cultures have been globalized and amalgamated to be in a global system. And I have to be very careful how I talk about this on platforms because this is not my platform. But if you think about who was in charge of your life, what you did, how you did it, where you learned, and how you learned when you were a child, that is the jumping off point or the foundation that was laid and set for your current reality. So if you, for example, were raised with pop culture and hip hop culture, then that is your jumping board. Like that is who you refer to when it comes to defining who you are. If you were raised by grandma and grandma, and they raised you with certain principles or certain ways of being that were as a direct result of the things that they learned, and they had things to offer you that were of value that have made you successful, or maybe they still stick with you, and every time you get in a jam, that's what you refer back to, then that is your reference point. If you were raised by a single mom who was under so much stress and duress to provide and to be there whenever she could, but she was too tired because she was going from her job to her bed and doing the same thing, then television raised you and school raised you. And if you did that in America, where most of us went to a public school system, depending on your age would depend on how much the people that poured into you. You want to talk about pouring into your relationships, the teachers and the coaches, if you did sports, and I'm talking about females, I'm not talking about men now specifically, I'm talking only about women, then that is your jumping off point for how you see yourself as a woman. And none of these things are excuses. None of them. I'm not saying, oh, we're like this because of this. It is true. But look, Black women are very smart. We're very intelligent. We're very strong. But our strength is not our feminine strength. And I think that we have seriously misunderstood the two things. Yana talked about this also in the video, so I'm going to leave a link to that video in the description box, because I think this conversation is more important than the reflection which Miss Ebony then came up with a year after, which is more recent, because it just goes to show how much time we waste with the W face. You saw her face, like she was like, bus driver. I did not spend 100 years in college paying $250,000 to be up here with no bus driver. Look, ma'am, get your prenup, humble yourself, and realize that a man's utility is not his character. That's my first point. Second of all, start to humble yourself to the understanding that you have no clue what a good man looks like, because you didn't have no man in your house. You had your mama who did the best she could with what she knew, because she was also lied to by the state and by other women around her that said to her that you don't need a man to raise a child. If you guys have seen my reactionary video, and I think I will do a complete one on this because people are just not going to do it for themselves. I'm going to cut it up into little pieces so that you can have a real understanding as to how it came about that 30% of men, and I know that I keep saying that, and it's probably not entirely true, but there was a recent study that was done on this, how many fatherless children there are and who is fathering the children, and being the sperm contributor, not the actual father. And so this idea of men being incarcerated or having a lot of baby mamas is actually not true, but I digress. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to what a good man looks like, because you never had one in your life. And that is symptomatic of many generations of lies that you adopted as the truth, and a level of programming that you accepted that does not really blend with what is the reality of your situation. And it's super funny because it took her a year to retract that statement and then make a new statement now saying that this is the reality. I'm 40 years old and I am facing my life possibly alone for the rest of my life. And if I had it to do over, these are the things that I would have changed and managed differently. And if y'all want to know, because I know it's come up, what about cheating? What about this? What about that? Look, I believe that approaching relationships, I feel like I'm all over the place with this video, but I'm just going to end with this because people keep asking me about like cheating and abuse and all of this other stuff. All of those things I have experienced in past relationships. And I get asked, would I put up with cheating with my husband? First of all, a lot of women keep asking me that. Like, you can't have my husband, okay? That's weird that y'all are asking me if I'm about to share my man with y'all. No, you can't have him, okay? No. Don't worry about me and my husband. Jesus. But no, on a serious note, are they gonna come for me? On a serious note, I think that women need to start to approach relationships with in good faith, right? This is a very difficult thing for us to talk about, things like faith and grace and femininity and softness. But women need to start to approach relationships in good faith. I think that in my experience and in the experience of women who have been successful, unfortunately, with all the women who I've talked to, 99% of them who take my advice 100% end up getting married within a year. The rest of them who don't take my advice end up in the same shitty situation after shitty situation after shitty situation. But what I can say is this: in those circumstances where I say just what I just said, like approach a relationship in good faith and things will work out, every single time, if she was not first attracting someone in her life who was serious about relationships and serious about long-term relationships, she was having the standard and the bar of a person's character and level raised every single time a man approached her. So even if a guy has a tendency to be a particular kind of way to women in general, they automatically knew based on the way this woman carries herself that she was not the one to bring that to. And I experienced that now as a married woman. Now, somebody wrote in my, I don't know where this came from, probably, gosh, it's a piece of box. um, Now, because I'm a married woman and I carry myself like a wife, and I did that before I got married, which is to have grace and respect and dignity and talking a certain way and acting a certain way, except for that laugh that I just gave when yeah, I'm gonna ask if she gonna marry bus driver. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. Her face was priceless. But for the most part, I try to carry myself in such a way that says this is somebody's wife. And men approach me like that. And I never had that before. I mean, nobody would disrespect me or anything, but I'm so like in myself sometimes when I am with my husband and he's like, this is my wife, and men and everybody's just like, oh, okay, he made that legit. It's just has so much weight for men. But you got to come with that standard and know that this is how I am and this is how I want to be treated. And that energies will attract more people into your life who are like that. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Yeah, you got to already be a wife when he finds you. That's how that story goes. But for those of you who are interested in having more conversations about this particular thing, we're going to start to go a little bit deeper into this on YouTube, and the rest of those sessions and lessons will be held exclusively on my Patreon platform in the next couple of months. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this content. If you have any concerns, questions, comments, critiques, please leave them down in the comment section down below. Of course, just as always, be respectful about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. And you know what to do. Stay safe and stay free.